David Brock joins me now. He is the founder of Correct the Record, that is a strategic research and rapid response team backing Hillary Clinton. Thank you for being with me.
Thanks for having me on.
What do you make of what Ted Cruz said and what some folks are throwing at the DNC, saying they've got a preference, if you will, for your candidate?
Oh, I think there's no evidence for that, Poppy. Look, there are debates happening. The secretary said she'd be happy to do more debates. The schedule is not a decision of the Clinton campaign. It's a decision of the DNC. And look, Hillary's had very strong performances in these first couple of debates. I don't think her campaign or her supporters would want to hide her.
I want to read you something from Frank Bruni in the New York Times this week. He writes, Clinton is more than adequately steeled. The real danger for her is that she's become all armor. And a real vulnerability is that she's seen by voters as entrenched political royalty and thus distant, too distant from those everyday Americans that she's talked so much about at the start of her campaign. What do you say to that?
Well, I think for some critics of Hillary, she can never win. And the reality is, just in the last 10 days, she's out there talking about issues and she's connecting, and she is in touch. She's talking about, like, investing in manufacturing jobs in the country, holding large corporations accountable for their corporate inversions, immigration reform. So those are the issues people really care about. And she's made a major speech
being in touch
countering
with the average,
global terrorism.
What about that criticism,
Sure, well,
being in touch with the average American?
I think she first of all, she grew up as an average American, and her whole life has been committed to the progressive values and ideals that would keep American families safe and secure. And that's what she's talking about. And the concern, what's in touch right now, is on a lot of people's minds are the threats globally and domestically on terrorism. She clearly is the only one in either field, frankly, Republican or Democrat, who people have the confidence in to be commander-in-chief.
Let's talk about terrorism. Obviously, it is a big issue. The key issue there for Democratic primary voters is the economy, but quickly thereafter is terrorism. When you look at her record as Secretary of State, she was Secretary of State during the time that ISIS was rising, as al-Baghdadi came into power within the terror organization. What do you say to voters who tie her to the Obama administration and a failure to contain ISIS?
Well, first of all, I would say if you look at the history of it, and the Secretary's written about this in her book, she did, at critical junctures internally in the administration, urge a stronger support for the rebels in Syria. That didn't carry the day with the president. Secondly, she is out there now saying in very specific terms what she would do. And again, she would go further than President Obama, for example, on a no-fly zone in Syria. So I think nobody is questioning, really on the Republicans or Democrats, that Hillary is very strong on this issue. Her national security numbers, her terrorism numbers are quite high.
There is no question her numbers are quite high just nationally against Bernie Sanders and Martin O'Malley. New Hampshire, she's within 2 points of Bernie Sanders, who's leading her there. She may seem like the inevitable Democratic nominee, but she's far from an inevitable president. If you look at this CNN ORC polling out this month, it shows that when she is matched up against top Republican contenders, the margins are 3 points or less. So there she is, 49 to 46 with Trump, 50 to 47 over Cruz, and she actually is 1 point lower than Marco Rubio in a head-to-head matchup. When the Republican base unites, David, are those numbers worrisome to you?
Well, first of all, it's not clear the Republican base is going to unite. We saw last week a very divided party, a disoriented party, a party that devolved in their debate into nothing but name-calling. So it's not clear they're coming together. And secondly, no, the polls, she's ahead. And look, when there's a real contrast, when the Republicans do have a nominee, you'll be able to ask that question in a way that has some real meaning. And I think she'll run a very strong race. She's the most formidable Democrat we have to put up against any Republican. But look, the reality is we have a divided country, and nothing's being taken for granted here, and nobody's overconfident about anything.
So you're saying these numbers you don't give much credence to these numbers, a hypothetical matchup?
No, I do give credence to them. I'm just saying that I think we'll get a more meaningful number when the Republicans get their act together and decide on their nominee.
All right, David Brock, at T-minus 50 minutes for the beginning of the debate. I'll let you get in there. Thank you for being with me.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.